I thought I knew the person sleeping beside me. 6 years together, a ring on my finger, plans to start a family. But on a Tuesday night, his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter and I saw her name, my best friend, the one who called me her sister, who crashed on my couch, who knew my phone password. I opened the messages, read everything. 3 months of betrayal. They laughed about me. I threw up in the sink. I walked out without looking back. My mother said marriage was forever. My aunt said I must have misunderstood, but I hadn't. And it was right then, with the ring tucked inside an empty pillbox, that I decided I wasn't going to live the life they wanted for me anymore. I thought I knew what pain felt like. At 34, working as a nurse at St. Luke's Hospital here in Portland, I'd watched people fall apart. But when I found those messages between him and her, my childhood friend, the one who slept at my place every weekend, it was like the ground turned to dust beneath my feet. I couldn't breathe. All I could hear was the old refrigerator humming in the kitchen silence. It was a Tuesday night. He'd gone out to grab bread. His phone vibrated on the table and I saw her name. I opened it. Read everything. 3 months. They were laughing at me. She sent voice messages calling him baby, and at the end she always said, "Tomorrow I'm having lunch with sis." I was sis. I vomited right there in the sink. I spent 2 weeks locked in my mother's bedroom. She was the one who put an old notebook in my hand and said, "Write, even if it's just his name crossed out." I started writing down every lie, every date. I went back to my shift, requested a schedule change, blocked them both, stored the ring in an empty medicine box. There are nights I still wake up sweating, but now I know this much. Betrayal isn't about deserving it. It's about who chooses to be a coward. And me? I chose something else. I met Marcus at a 4th of July cookout in 2014 at my aunt's backyard in Seattle. I was 26 and working as an office assistant at a physical therapy clinic. He was a civil engineer, fresh from San Francisco to manage a construction project downtown. He wore a flannel shirt with rolled up sleeves and smiled slowly, like someone who already knows what he's going to say before he speaks. Camila, my friend since high school, was the one who brought him. "This is my boyfriend's cousin," she said, pushing him toward me. "He's alone in the city. Adopt him." We laughed. He grabbed 2 beers and offered me one. We talked about nothing. Barbecue, traffic, the rain that had flooded Maple Street. When the bonfire started dying down, he asked for my number, wrote it in his phone, and said, "I'm gonna ask you to show me around, even though you're from here." The first few months were easy. He took me out for sushi, picked me up from work in his car, left folded notes in my purse. Camila loved it. "You two are getting married. I know it," she'd say, squeezing my arm. She was always around, had lunch with me every Saturday, crashed at my place when her boyfriend traveled, called me 3 times a day. Sis, she called me, my soul sister. Marcus was attentive, but gradually I started noticing little things. He didn't like it when I went out alone at night. When I mentioned some male coworker, he'd go quiet, then drop a line like, "That guy's kind of a player, right?" Nothing aggressive. Just present, like a hand on your shoulder that squeezes a bit too hard. There was this one time we came back from a barbecue at my cousin's place. I'd been chatting a lot with a childhood friend I hadn't seen in years. In the car, Marcus went silent. I asked if everything was okay. He said yes. But when we got home, he commented, "You get really comfortable around other guys." I laughed, thinking it was silly jealousy. "He's practically my brother," I said. Marcus didn't respond, just turned on the TV and sat there, quiet, until bedtime. One Sunday, we were in my mom's kitchen making carrot cake. Camila had gone to the bathroom. Marcus looked at me and said quietly, "Don't you think she's a little too attached to you?" I laughed nervously. "She's my best friend." He licked the chocolate off the spoon and replied, "Okay, I just think it's weird." I didn't ask what he meant. 3 months later, he proposed in front of my family. It was a Sunday in December during Christmas lunch. He knelt in the living room. Everyone around us, my mom crying before he even opened the box. Camila cried harder than I did. And when he slipped the ring on my finger, I felt something strange, like I was signing a contract I hadn't read all the way through. But I said yes, because everyone expected me to say it, because my mom was happy, because Camila was already planning the bridal shower, because I thought that was love. And that's when I started disappearing from myself. We got married in March 2016. Small ceremony at the neighborhood church. Camila was my maid of honor. Marcus insisted we live in an apartment he'd bought alone before meeting me. Second floor, 2 bedrooms, near the site where he worked. It's ours now, he said. But the deed had only his name on it. I tried talking about adding my name to. He said it was too much red tape, that we could handle it later. Later never came. At first, I still paid for my own things. Credit card, gym membership, gifts for my mom, until one day he said, "Stop spending carelessly. I make more. Let me take care of it." It felt like affection, like protection. I canceled my card, started asking him for money when I needed something. Sometimes he'd give it. Sometimes he'd sigh deeply and say, "Again." Once I asked for $50 to buy hair cream. He looked at me and said, "Didn't you just buy shampoo last week?" I explained it was something different. He gave me the money but stayed in a bad mood all day. I felt guilty for wanting hair cream. Camila stayed present, had lunch with me on Saturdays while Marcus played soccer, slept on the couch when she fought with her boyfriend. She knew my phone password, knew where I kept the spare key, helped pick out the curtain color. "You two are like twin sisters," my mom would say, laughing. But Marcus started changing. Small explosions. Once I forgot to buy beer and he slammed the cabinet door so hard the hinge came loose. Didn't yell, just left the house. Came back 2 hours later.com and apologized. "Work stress," he said, hugging me. "You know I love you, right?" I knew, or I thought I did. Another time I burned the rice. Small thing. He looked at the pot, then at me, and said, "Can't you do anything right?" Didn't yell, but the tone was worse than yelling. I apologized. Made Ramon. We ate in silence. Saturdays with Camila became my only breathing room. We'd eat empanadas at the farmer's market, get smoothies, talk about everything. She complained about her boyfriend. I complained about Marcus, but always lightly, like it was a joke. She'd laugh and say, "All men are like that. You gotta have patience." I had patience. I had so much patience, I forgot to have boundaries. One Saturday in July, I got home and Marcus was sitting on the couch, arms crossed. "You were with Camila again?" "Yeah, like always." He didn't respond, just looked at me like I'd done something wrong. That night, in bed, he hugged me from behind and whispered, "I love you, but sometimes I think you like her more than me." I froze. "Don't say that." He kissed my neck and fell asleep. I stayed awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling. The pressure cooker in the kitchen was releasing steam, that constant hissing that sounds like it'll never stop. That noise that warns you something's at the limit, that if you don't take it off the heat, it explodes. And I started wondering, what happens when the pressure explodes? It was a Tuesday night, late August. I'd come home early from work because the clinic closed early. Electrical problem. I bought bread at the bakery and went up to the apartment. Marcus had said he'd be at the site late. When I opened the door, the house was silent, but his car was in the garage. I went in slowly. The TV was off, the bedroom light off. I put the bag on the kitchen table and heard a noise, muffled laughter coming from the bathroom. My heart raced. I walked toward it. The door was cracked open. Steam coming out, the shower running, and then I saw it. His phone, on the sink. Screen lit up. I grabbed it. It was a WhatsApp conversation with Camila. The messages went up and up. Photos, voice notes, video calls, 3 months of conversation. She sent heart. He replied, "Miss you." She said, "Today sis is working late. Come over to my place." He said, "I will." I read everything. Every word. Every "I love you." Every "she doesn't even suspect." Every inside joke they had about me. Every time she complained about me to him, every time he agreed, there was a photo of her, half naked, taken in my bed, in the bed where I slept, where I cried, where I prayed for him to truly love me. My vision blurred. My hands started shaking. I felt my stomach turn. I didn't hear him get out of the shower, just felt his hand on my shoulder. "What are you doing?" I turned around. He was in a towel, dripping wet, eyes wide. For a second, I saw fear. Then anger. I showed him the phone. "Explain this." He said nothing. For 3 eternal seconds, he just stood there, dripping water on the cold floor. Then he tried to grab the phone from my hand. "Give me that." I stepped back. "Explain." "It's not what you think." I laughed. A laugh that came out wrong, high-pitched, full of nausea. "It's not." "Then what is it, Marcus? What is it?" He lowered his voice. That tone he used when he wanted to calm me, control me. "We were just talking, that's all." You know how dramatic she is? She made stuff up. I opened the gallery again, showed him the photo. "She made this up too?" He went pale, tried another tactic. "Anna, you're overreacting. It was just once we drank too much. It didn't mean anything. 3 months. Marcus, 3 months." My voice came out louder than I intended. He took a step toward me. "Lower your voice. The neighbors will hear." And that's when I understood. He wasn't worried about me. He was worried about his image, about what others would think. I threw up right there in the sink. He tried to hold me, and I shoved him so hard he hit the wall. "Get away from me." My voice came out hoarse, broken. I'd never yelled like that in my life. I left the bathroom, grabbed my purse, my phone, the apartment keys, even knowing the apartment wasn't mine, even knowing I had nowhere to go, even knowing I'd eventually have to come back to get my things. But in that moment, I just needed to leave. He came after me. "Stop. Stop. Let's talk. You're too upset. You're not thinking straight." I stopped, turned around, and for the first time in 2 years, I saw who he really was. Not the charming engineer from the 4th of July cookout, not the attentive husband who left notes in my purse. I saw a coward, a man who lied looking me in the eyes, a man who had screwed my best friend in my bed. I'll never be the same again. He tried to grab my arm. "Anna, stop this. You're going to regret it." I yanked my arm away hard. "I already regret it. Marrying you." I opened the door and left, ran down the stairs. He yelled my name from the hallway, but I didn't stop. Got to the street. The cold air hit my face. I breathed deep, trying not to pass out. I grabbed my phone, called my mom. My hand was shaking so much, I almost dropped it. She answered on the second ring. "Mom, ... I need to come over." "What happened?" I couldn't answer. Just started crying. "I'm coming." I sat on the curb, hugging my purse, waiting. Cars passed by, the streetlight flickered. I looked at the building, at the apartment where I'd lived for 2 years, and felt something strange. It wasn't just sadness. It was relief, because for the first time, I had chosen to leave. I went straight to my mom's house. It was almost midnight. She opened the door in her robe, startled. When she saw my face, she pulled me inside. What happened? I couldn't speak. Just cried. That cry that comes out soundless, that hurts in your chest, that feels like it'll never stop. The cry you held in 4 months, for years, until the day you just can't anymore. She took me to her room, laid me on the bed, kept running her hand through my hair until I fell asleep, just like she did when I was a kid and had nightmares. In the morning, I told her everything. She stayed silent, then said, "Are you sure?" Because accusing something like that is serious. I showed her the conversations. She read them, went pale, but didn't say what I expected. She didn't say, "I'm going to kill him." She didn't say, "Let's sue him." She said, "And now, are you going to separate?" Like it was my decision alone, like he hadn't done anything. "Mom, he cheated on me with my best friend in my bed," she sighed. "I know, honey, but you're married. Marriage isn't easy. Everyone makes mistakes. I looked at her and I understood she wasn't going to support me. Not the way I needed. At 10 in the morning, Marcus started calling. I didn't answer. He texted, "I'm sorry, I messed up, but we can fix this. Please, come home." I blocked his number. At 11, my aunt called. Marcus called me. He's desperate. He says you misunderstood. I didn't misunderstand. But you're married, honey. Marriage is forever. You need to talk at church with the pastor. Sometimes the devil gets in the middle, and I hung up. In the afternoon, my mom went out to buy bread and came back with a strange expression. "Camila called. She wants to talk to you." My stomach turned. She said it was a misunderstanding, that you're twisting things, that she loves you and wants to explain. I looked at my mom. "Do you believe her?" She didn't answer. I locked the bedroom door, grabbed my phone, thought about calling the police, but for what? He hadn't hit me, hadn't threatened me, just cheated on me. And cheating doesn't get you jail time. Cheating doesn't get you anything, just pain. Then I remembered something. 6 months ago, a patient at the clinic had given me a card. She was a psychologist, worked with women. "If you ever need," she'd said, "call me." I'd saved the card in an empty medicine box, along with the ring I'd taken off my finger that same night. I opened the box. The card was there, wrinkled but readable. Dr. Paula Andrade, Therapy and Support. Monday through Friday. I typed the number into my phone, took a deep breath, and pressed call. Someone answered on the third ring. "Hello." The voice was calm, steady, like an anchor. "Hi, I don't know if you remember me. We met at the clinic. You gave me a card?" I remember. "What's your name?" "Aina." "Hi, Aina. Is everything okay?" I hesitated, then said no. She didn't ask anything else, just said, "Do you want to schedule a conversation?" I scheduled for Thursday, 2 in the afternoon. When I hung up, I felt something strange. It wasn't relief. It was less than that. It was just the feeling that someone had heard me without judging, without asking if I was sure, without telling me marriage was forever. I spent the next 2 days locked in my mom's room. Marcus stopped calling but started sending messages through Instagram, email, even LinkedIn. All the same, "Forgive me. I love you. Combata?" I didn't respond to any. On Thursday, I left the house at 1:30, took the bus downtown. Dr. Paula's office was in an old building, 3rd floor, no elevator. The room was small, with a beige armchair, a 2-seater sofa, a bookshelf full of books, smelled like lavender. She was younger than I remembered, must have been around 40. Short hair, thin-framed glasses, tired but present smile. "Sit wherever you feel comfortable." I sat in the armchair. She grabbed a notebook and pen but didn't write anything, just waited. And then I told her everything. From the beginning, the 4th of July cookout, the marriage, Camila, the phone, the vomit, my mom saying marriage is forever, my aunt talking about the devil, Camila wanting to explain. When I finished, I was trembling. She stayed silent for a while, then said, "Do you think it was your fault?" I didn't expect that question. "I don't know." "Do you think if you'd done something different, he wouldn't have cheated?" My eyes filled with tears. "Sometimes I think so. Like, if I were prettier, if I didn't complain so much, if I were better in bed. If I..." "Aina," she interrupted me, "listen, betrayal isn't about you. It's about the choice he made, and about the choice she made. You're not responsible for their decisions. You could be the most beautiful, most caring, most perfect woman in the world, and still he could cheat on you. Because betrayal isn't about what you are. It's about what he chose to do." I started crying again, but this time it was different. It wasn't despair. It was that anger. Real anger. "And now," I asked, "what do I do?" She smiled. "You already did the first thing. You left. You came here. Now we're going to take it one step at a time." When I left the office, the sun was still high. I bought lemon ice cream at a corner shop, ate it sitting on a park bench. The ice cream dripped on my hand and I laughed. A small laugh, kind of crooked, but real. It had been weeks since I'd laughed. I went back to my mom's house and locked the bedroom door, grabbed an old notebook she'd given me and started writing. Date, name, what he did, what she did, what I felt. I wrote for 2 hours. Wrote about the first time he made me feel small. About the first time I asked for money and he sighed. About all the times Camila slept on my couch and I didn't suspect anything. And when I finished, I knew this wasn't going to destroy me. 3 weeks later, I was back at work. My coworkers looked at me differently, with pity, I think. But I didn't want pity. I wanted a plan. Dr. Paula had helped me put one together. Step 1, save money. Step 2, find a lawyer. Step 3, leave my mom's house. I'd saved $800 working extra shifts at the clinic. It wasn't much, but it was mine. For the first time in years, it was mine. I opened an account in my name only, kept the cart inside a tea box I hid at the back of the closet. Marcus kept sending messages. But now they were different. You're humiliating me. Everyone's talking about me. You're ungrateful. After everything I did for you, I blocked him everywhere. Camila tried calling me once. I answered by accident. She started crying. Sis, I'm so sorry. I didn't want it to be like this. I love you. You're my sister. Please forgive me. I hung up. 2 days later, she sent a long message saying she'd been weak, that he'd seduced her, that she'd been drinking, that she regrets it every day, that she wants our friendship back. I read it and felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, nothing. I deleted the conversation. In October, a patient at the clinic offered me a room to rent. She was a widow, lived alone in a townhouse in the hillside neighborhood. $300 a month, utilities split. I accepted immediately. When I told my mom, she stayed silent, then said, "Are you sure? Because he's still your husband. What if you two get back together?" Mom, we're not getting back together. But how are you going to live alone? You barely have money too. I'll figure it out. She sighed. Okay, but don't come complaining later. I moved on a Friday afternoon. Took only a suitcase of clothes, my old laptop in the tea box with the bank card. The landlady, Mrs. Lucia, helped me set up the room. She didn't ask questions, just said, "Anything you need, I'm here." That night, I slept alone for the first time in years. The room was small, but had a window facing the street. I opened the curtain and stayed watching the cars pass by. The sound of wet tires on asphalt, the yellow streetlight flickering. It was strange, but it was mine. On Monday, I went to the lawyer Dr. Paula had recommended. She was young, wore red lipstick, and spoke fast. Asked for all the documents, marriage certificate, apartment proof, bank statements. I had almost nothing. But she said, "We'll go after it." The divorce process started in November. Marcus didn't respond to the summons. The lawyer said it was common. He's going to try to wear you down. But I wasn't tired. I was furious. In December, I bought a used bicycle, blue, with a front basket. Started biking to the clinic. It was far, 40 minutes, but I liked it. The wind on my face, the sound of the chain, the feeling that I was going somewhere. One Saturday, I was coming back from the grocery store when I saw him. Marcus, on the corner, with her, Camila. They were holding hands. My stomach turned, but I didn't stop, just kept pedaling, looking ahead. And when I got home, I felt something different. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sadness. It was freedom. January 2017 came hot. Seattle was unbearable. That sticky heat that makes your clothes cling to your back. I'd started doing Pilates twice a week at a small gym near the clinic. That's where I met Rafi. He was a physical education teacher, taught CrossFit in the evening shift. Tall, tattooed, easy smile, asked me out for smoothies after class. I accepted. We started going out, movies, beach. Once he took me to a bar in Olympia. Everything was light. He laughed at my jokes, paid the bill without drama, sent me good morning texts. But there was something he drank. Not every day, but when he drank, it wasn't till the end. And when he was drunk, he changed, got more serious, harder. Once we were at a bar and I commented that the waiter was nice. Raphael clenched his jaw and said, "Nice, why?" I laughed nervously. Nothing, just thought he was polite. He didn't say anything else all night. I tried to ignore it. After all, he wasn't like Marcus. He didn't control my money, didn't isolate me, didn't cheat on me with my best friend, but there was that silence, that way of going cold when something bothered him. In February, we went to a party at his friend's house. I was talking to a girl about yoga when he appeared next to me and said, "Let's go." I looked at him confused. "Already? We just got here," he insisted. "Let's go." In the car, I asked what happened. He said nothing. But I felt there was something. "Raphael, talk to me." He took a deep breath. "You were too comfortable with that guy." "What guy?" "The host. You were laughing too much." I froze. It was exactly the kind of thing Marcus used to say. "He's your friend." I was just being polite. Raphael didn't answer. Just turned on the music and stayed silent the rest of the way. I got home and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Mrs. Lucia knocked on the door and asked if I wanted to eat something. I said no. She didn't insist. In March, we went to dinner at an Italian restaurant downtown. The bill came and he looked at me, split it with me. I grabbed my wallet, had $40. My half was $53. "I don't have enough," he sighed. "Then let me pay." Again, there was a tone. It wasn't anger, it was resentment. When we left, he was quiet. I asked if he was okay. He said, "Yeah. Just funny you never have money." I stopped walking. "Funny how?" He looked at me. "Nothing." Forget it. But I didn't forget. That night, I went home and opened the notebook, the same one I'd started writing in therapy. I wrote, "He keeps score. He drinks. He changes." I looked at the old pages, had notes about Marcus, about how he controlled my money, about how he'd go silent when he was angry, about how he made me feel guilty for small things. Raphael wasn't the same, but the pattern was. And for the first time I understood. It wasn't about them. It was about me, about what I accepted, about what I normalized, about where I set my boundaries. The following Thursday, I scheduled a session with Dr. Paula. She listened and said, "You see what I'm seeing?" I nodded. "And what are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. "I'm going to end it." And I did. On Saturday, by text. He called 10 times. I didn't answer. He texted, "You're crazy. I just wanted to split the bill." I replied, "It's not about the bill." And I blocked him. He texted from another number, "You're going to die alone. Nobody's going to put up with you." I blocked again. Mrs. Lucia asked if I was okay. I said yes. She made cornbread and brought me a piece. We sat in the kitchen, eating in silence. "You did the right thing," she said. I looked at her. "How do you know?" She smiled. "Because I stayed once, and it hurt more than leaving." That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. I knew he wouldn't understand, and that was okay, because for the first time, I understood. April came with light rain. I was sitting by my bedroom window drinking coffee when I saw the email from the lawyer. Subject, divorce, finalized. I opened it, read it 3 times, then closed the laptop and rested my head against the wall. It was over. There was no fight at the hearing, no division of assets because there were no assets to divide. Marcus kept the apartment, which was already his. I kept my freedom. I called Dr. Paula. She answered on the second ring. The divorce came through. "And how are you?" I thought about it. Light. She laughed. "Congratulations, Anna." When I hung up, I grabbed my bike and rode aimlessly, passed by the clinic, the park, the street where the apartment I lived in with him was. I didn't stop, just looked and kept going. I stopped at an overlook above the river. The sun was breaking through the clouds. I sat on a bench and watched the water. There was a boat passing slowly, a dog running along the shore, a child laughed. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera, adjusted the focus, took a photo of the window, the river, the light. It wasn't to post. It wasn't to show anyone. It was just for me. And then I understood. This was my honeymoon. With myself, I was learning to enjoy my own company. Learning that I didn't need someone to feel complete. That I was already complete, alone. I rode home slowly. Mrs. Lucia was in the kitchen making coffee cake. She offered me a piece. I accepted. We talked about nothing. The heat, the soap opera, life. You seem different, she said. Different how? More to yourself. I smiled. Because she was right. When I went up to my room, I opened the notebook. Flipped through the pages. There were dates, names, pain, but there was also strength. There was therapy. There was the bicycle. There was Mrs. Lucia making coffee cake. There was Dr. Paula listening without judgment. There was me choosing to leave. There was me choosing to start over. There was me choosing to choose myself. I grabbed the pen and wrote on the last page. Today, I am free. And that is enough. I closed the notebook, put it in the drawer, and for the first time in years, I slept without fear. Without fear of being abandoned, without fear of not being enough, without fear of being alone. Because I learned that alone isn't the same as lonely. Alone is having your own company. It's having your own space. It's having your own peace. And I had all three. 3 months later, I got a better job at a bigger clinic with better pay. Started saving money to buy my own new bike. Not because the old one was bad, but because I could. Because I wanted to. My mom called on a Sunday, asked if I was coming for lunch. I said yes. When I arrived, she hugged me tighter than usual. I was wrong, she said. I should have supported you from the beginning. I hugged her back. It's okay. And it was because I'd learned that some people don't know how to support you, not because they don't love you, but because they themselves never had support. And you can't give what you never received. But you can break the cycle. In July, I went back to Dr. Paula's office. Not because I was doing badly, but because I wanted to keep growing. How are you? She asked. Good. Really? She smiled. And what changed? I thought about it. I changed. I learned I don't need anyone to validate me. I learned that self-love isn't selfish. I learned that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is leave. She wrote something in her notebook, then looked at me. Aina, I work with a lot of women, right? And what I see women who stay, who go back, who apologize for things they didn't do. But once in a while, I see a woman who leaves, who chooses herself, and those women give me hope. My eyes filled with tears. You gave me hope too, I said. When I left the office, the sun was setting. I grabbed my bike and rode home. Mrs. Lucia was watering the plants. Good evening, Aina. Good evening, Mrs. Lucia. I went up to my room, opened the window, took another photo of the sky, the clouds, the light, and I thought, this is me, starting over, breathing, living. Aina's story isn't just hers. It belongs to thousands of women who once believed in love, built a life beside someone, and discovered that the person sleeping next to them was capable of betraying not just the marriage, but trust, friendship, dignity. And what hurts most isn't just the betrayal itself. It's the silence that comes after. It's family saying, marriage is forever. It's church asking for forgiveness. It's society demanding you be strong but without making noise. It's the whole world pushing you back inside a house that became a prison. But Aina did something different. She left. She got help. She opened a notebook and started writing her own story. Not the one they told her, but the one she chose to live. And that wasn't easy. There was locked bedroom floor. There was crying on the bus. There were people doubting. There were bills that didn't add up. There was fear of starting over. But there was also therapy. There was the bicycle. There was the courage to look at a toxic pattern and say, not again. There was the strength to choose healthy solitude instead of company that hurts. And you know what that means? That healing isn't about turning the page and forgetting. It's about carrying the scars and still pedaling forward. It's about learning that self-love isn't selfish, it's survival. It's about understanding you don't need a happy ending with someone else to be whole. You're already whole, alone. And that by itself is revolution. We live in a culture that romanticizes forgiveness at any cost, that glamorizes starting over within the same cycle, that insists women need to endure, overlook, swallow, wait. But nobody talks about the weight of that. Nobody talks about the body that gets sick, the self-esteem that crumbles, the woman who looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize herself anymore. Nobody talks about how staying sometimes costs your life. That's why stories like Anus need to be told, not to victimize, not to blame, but to remember that there's a way out, that support networks exist, that therapy works, that divorce isn't failure. Sometimes it's the most courageous decision you'll make in your life. And that starting over, even with fear, even without money, even without support, is possible. Aina learned that betrayal isn't about deserving. It's about who chooses to be a coward. She learned that patterns repeat until you learn to recognize them. She learned that leaving isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. And she learned that self-love is the foundation of everything. Without self-love, you accept crumbs. Without self-love, you normalize abuse. Without self-love, you forget who you are. But when you choose yourself, everything changes. You start seeing the red flags. You start setting boundaries. You start saying no. And you start building a life that's yours. Not the life they expected from you, but the life you want to live. If you're going through something similar, listen up. You're not alone. There are people who've been through this and survived. There are professionals who can help you. There are laws that protect you. There are safe places, and there's inside you a strength you haven't even discovered yet. So breathe, write it down, get help. Take the first step. Because the life you deserve to live is on the other side of fear. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. Because sometimes a story is all that's missing for someone to realize they can leave too. Aina today is 36 years old, lives in a small apartment that's all hers, works at a clinic she loves, rides her bike every day, does therapy every week. And when she looks in the mirror, she recognizes herself because she became herself again. Not the version Marcus wanted. Not the version the family expected. Herself, and that in the end is worth more than any marriage, worth more than any ring, worth more than any broken promise, because in the end, the only person who will be with you forever is yourself, and you need to learn to enjoy that company. Now, I want to hear from you. Did this story touch you? Did it remind you of someone? Did it make you reflect on something in your own life? Then drop in the comments where you're watching this video from. I love knowing there are people from all over the country and even other countries following these stories. Tell me, have you been through something similar? Do you know someone who needs to hear this story? What was your process of choosing yourself like? And if this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories. We post content every week about overcoming, starting over, and real stories of women who chose freedom. Turn on the notification bell to be notified every time a new video drops. Because trust me, there are a lot of good stories coming. And leave your like on this video. It really helps us reach more people who need to hear these stories. Every like, every comment, every share makes a difference. It helps the algorithm show this content to more women who are going through difficult situations and need to know that there's a way out. If you know someone who's trapped in a toxic relationship, who's suffering betrayal, who's being controlled, who's losing their own identity inside a marriage, share this video with them. Sometimes an overcoming story is all it takes for someone to realize they can leave too, that they can start over too, that they deserve to be happy too. And if you need help, reach out. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Find a therapist. Talk to someone you trust. Write in a notebook. Make a safety plan. Open an account in your name only. Keep documents safe. Take small steps. Because every step counts, and you don't have to do everything at once. You just need to start. Let's spread this chain of support. of strength, of hope, because nobody overcomes alone. We lift each other up. We support each other. We remind ourselves that we deserve more, that we deserve peace, that we deserve respect, that we deserve love, real love, not the kind that controls, that hurts, that diminishes. So comment down below, share your story, or just send an "I'm here" so we know you made it to the end. Because every view, every comment shows me there are people listening, that there are people who need these stories. And that gives me strength to keep bringing more content like this. A kiss to each of your hearts. And remember, you're stronger than you think, and you deserve to be happy.